Every deal it's hot. And they don't care whether it's child prostitution or Bitcoin.
Charlie Munger is back though, and he's bringing the heat. He just gave a 20-minute interview to CNBC where he discussed inflation, the Federal Reserve's excessive money printing, a predicted recession in 2023, and you guessed it, the death of cryptocurrency. As value investors, this is actually incredibly exciting. Charlie is basically a legend, so that makes sense. However, it's also thrilling since at 98 or older, he hardly ever appears in the media these days, save from the Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting or in the past, the Daily Journal shareholder meeting. In this video, let's examine Charlie's current views on the economy and his predictions for the not-too-distant future. The Federal Reserve is where he bases his judgments. And it's funny that Charlie doesn't precisely share the same bad opinion despite the fact that many content creators have been critical of America's central bank over the past, well, let's say a year or so.
I basically like the existence of the Fed. I think in a world of fiat currencies, we need wise central banks. And I think we've had pretty good people in it trying to be contributors to civilization. If you look at Japan today, you would find that the central bank has made our central bank look like a little mouse that hardly tries to do anything. So we've learned that central banks can be really important. You can push them to great excess if you have to and you're in enough trouble. So by and large, I like central bankers, and by and large, I hate Bitcoin promoters.
It's fascinating to see Charlie's positive opinion of the central bank, especially given that the Federal Reserve may have contributed to the recent severe inflation that is now clearly hurting everyone by creating approximately 4 trillion new US dollars in recent years. He goes on to detail why he supports the Fed so strongly, and this is a topic that is sometimes overlooked.
Do you worry about the Fed creating a recession by slamming on the brakes too hard?
Well, I think the Fed is willing to have a little recession in order not to have out-of-control inflation. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be the one guy at the party that doesn't hang around the punch bowl and getting drunk.
Although a lot of people say they're the ones who provided the punch bowl.
Well, I think that's pushing it. Besides, I think we were in enough trouble when this thing started. If the Fed hadn't done what it did, which was very aggressive, we would have had one hell of a mess, which would have been way worse than what we have now.
So, as Becky notes, a lot of people contend that the Fed provided the punch bowl, i.e., they printed all that extra money. Charlie, though, is quick to point out that if they hadn't done that, the economic situation would have been far worse than it is right now. I believe that so much has changed over the past previous few years that it's almost difficult to recall a time when 15% of Americans were unemployed, when lines at food banks stretched for miles and families all over the nation were rapidly exhausting their funds due to being cooped up. Because of this, Charlie undoubtedly sees things more leniently and believes that what the Fed did in 2020 was somewhat necessary, even though we find it amusing to connect to drone power. And if it means a recession in, say, the upcoming year, so be it. It's preferable to have one now while everyone at least has a job than to experience a severe recession in 2020 when everyone is in a difficult situation. And of course, the Fed's activities over the past few years also gave rise to the increasingly fervent criticism that fiat money is dying and that cryptocurrencies will instead be the next big thing.
The way I look at it is that it pains me that in my own country, I see people that were once regarded as very reputable people helping these things exist, promoting their use and so forth. This is a very, very bad thing. There are people who think they just got to be on every deal that's hot, and they don't care whether it's child prostitution or Bitcoin. If it's hot, they want to be in it. I think that's totally crazy. Reputation is very helpful in financial life, and to destroy your reputation by associating with scumballs and their scumball promotions is a huge mistake.
Do you think those companies did any due diligence, or what happened?
I think they actually mean well, though that you're seeing a lot of delusion. It's partly fraud and partly delusion. That's a bad combination. I don't like either fraud or delusion. And the delusion may be more extreme than the fraud.
Delusion, how so?
Nobody's going to invent a new thing that every 12-year-old kid can be a billionaire or something. He just calls it Munger coin. He starts trading it or something. It's crazy. It's demented.
It's insanely intriguing how Charlie here targets significant individuals who allegedly heavily invested in cryptocurrency initiatives and enterprises rather than just those who bought cryptocurrency. And here he brings up an extremely important issue that he will later bring up several times in the interview. Many investing firms have been severely taken off guard by the sudden demise of cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrency exchange businesses in the last 12 months. However, they shouldn't really have been. Because from the beginning, everyone was aware that cryptocurrencies lack intrinsic worth. They do, however, have imputed value. And we also know that most of these cryptocurrency exchange businesses have had incredibly Ponzi-like success. Now that I'm a value investor with an endless number of strikes against me, it will be simple to just let things go. And that's exactly what all the value investors I like did. However, it's absurd how some value investors, including well-known ones, feel that they must participate in every trade and must profit in every circumstance. In Charlie's opinion, those who bought into the illusion and promise of returns without stopping to consider what they were actually purchasing are the ones who should be most upset with him. Because in my opinion, this is a very risky mindset to have when investing, because it also takes you outside of your area of expertise. And oddly, he believes that the reason this got so far is simply that there is a lot of merit behind the cryptocurrency's blockchain technology.
The argument that blockchain is different, that blockchain is something that businesses and industries can build on. Is there a way to...
That's what sucks people in. And by the way, that reminds me of Ben Graham. He said, your good ideas get you in way more trouble than your bad ideas. Now, it sounds very peculiar. Well, what he meant is the thing is basically a good idea, meaning it's a good contribution to mathematics or something. Once you've got a good idea, it's much easier to push that to wretched excess. Of course, it's always going to be some good idea. Nobody's going to say, I've got some shit I want to sell you. The blockchain. Blockchain is a new good thing that's come up, like fairy dust.
The same can be said of mortgage-backed securities. They initially seemed like a brilliant solution to securitize mortgages safely, but over the years, they were pushed to such terrible excess that they ultimately caused the collapse of the whole global economy in 2008. However, every time Charlie opposes cryptocurrencies, he is dismissed as a simple old man who doesn't understand it. Those are Charlie's arguments from his most recent CNBC interview. I think it's vital to always keep that in mind. But in any case, please let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, like it and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll see you in the next one.